This is the most important relationship you will ever have. Is it your spouse? Is it your relationship to your mentor? Perhaps the connection you have to your children? What do you think is the most important relationship you will ever have? Stick around because I'm going to help you understand how to take your life from basic to overflow just by improving this one relationship in your life. Welcome back to Your Hero Code podcast. My name is Khadija. I'm your host, and I guide high potential individuals and intuitive entrepreneurs from feeling stuck and uncertain to building a clear, purpose-driven vision for their life and business. I do it using astrology and intuitive insight, helping you turn your calling into lasting influence, income, and impact. It's my job to help you to awaken the superhero within by turning pain into power. Let's jump into the episode. So I was listening to a podcast and an expert said, now I really want to know what you think, so please put your opinion in the comment below. But I was listening to an expert and her opinion was that the most important relationship that you will ever have is your relationship with your spouse. I disagree, however. I believe the most important relationship that you will ever have is the relationship you have with yourself. Hear me out. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So no matter what relationship you have, it will all reflect the relationship that you have with yourself. So even if the relationship with the partner is just important as that expert says, that relationship and the partner you choose will all be heavily influenced by the relationship you have with yourself. How do you speak to yourself? Is it a tone of love? Is the content uplifting? Or does it tend more to self-sabotage and putting yourself down? Your focus must be a strong relationship with yourself. Now, there's a third hat we can throw into the ring. Dr. Hew Len, who talks a lot about the Ho'oponopono forgiveness method, says that the most important relationship you will ever have is the relationship with your inner child. So he tends in the direction that I spoke of, having a deep relationship with yourself. But he goes more specifically to say that it's the relationship with your inner child. I believe it's the relationship with yourself because all aspects of who you are just as important. It's not just the inner child that deserves attention, healing, and embracing. It's all aspects, all archetypes of who you are. Dr. Hew Len talks about the relationship with the inner child reflecting the mother-child relationship. So you're the mother now, reparenting your inner child. And this is actually reflected also in astrology and the zodiac. So just remember as you go your journey, there's only one person who you're constantly going to be in contact with. There's only one person that you can never run away from, and that is you. So why not create a very loving relationship with yourself that gives you permission to be aware of your needs and to communicate those needs in your relationships, and not have the feeling that in order to belong, you must sacrifice those needs, hide them, or put on a mask. Instead, you can live your true identity, your true preference of who it is that you want to be, and trust that those who really are meant to share this life journey with you will get and appreciate that. Let's talk about 3 ideas about why it's so important for you to cultivate a relationship with yourself as well as with your inner child. With the first idea, we already touched on this. How you treat yourself will set the tone for how others treat you, and it forms the basis for all other relationships you have and your ability to be present within them. What many may not realize is the zodiac begins with Aries, and Aries is connected to the themes of identity as well as desire. And it's the beginning of the soul's evolutionary journey, which means in order for the soul to properly evolve here, it must first be clearly grounded in its own identity, but not its identity as a human here. That comes later in the zodiac. It's actually its identity as a soul, remembering I am a child of God and I am an emanation of the creative force. And having that clear identity also helps you have a deep connection to your desire. And your desire in Aries, when it's connected to the soul's desire, is actually one way the soul is trying to remind you of what it is that you wanted to experience here on the earth plane. So when you talk about passion and desire, it's really your soul speaking to you about what it is that you wanted to experience on your journey. So having a very clear identity and a very clear connection to your soul is actually the first step in your soul's evolutionary journey here on earth. And Aries is across from Libra, and Libra is social contact. It's on the evolutionary journey, it's the soul's beginning to interact with others. It's the first point of contact for interaction with others. So with Aries and Libra across from each other, they're reminding us that in order to have healthy relationships, Libra, we must be clear in who we are, Aries. Because if we're not clear in who we are, when we have relationships, we may lose contact with our own identity in a desire to people please, in a desire to not be rejected, in a desire to create a harmonious environment. So Aries and Libra as polarity signs are always working together to make sure that you have a clear understanding of who you are, so that when you enter into relationships, you can still be aware of and also communicate your desires, your needs, and whatever it is that you want to create in your life. The second idea is that you're in a tag team with God, with the creative force. So understanding that we are all the soul, which means we are all an emanation of the God force or creative energy, anything you say about yourself, you are also saying about God. So you want to make sure that everything you're saying is actually reflective of who you truly are, which is a powerful spiritual being. When you think about the fact that we're all an emanation of creative energy and this, universal or this godly energy, however you like to refer to it, that also means that having a deep relationship with yourself, and that being the most important relationship on this journey, also implies that having a deep relationship with the Creator, with God, is also the most important relationship you will ever have, because it implies that by having that relationship with yourself and the depth of who you are, then you also have a deep relationship with the Creator. So maybe some of you remember the story of Moses on the mountain, and Moses receives the 10 commandments from God and says, okay, thank you. But when I bring these to the Israelites, who should I say gave them to me? Like, what should I call you? And God said, tell them I am that I am. So the name of God is I am. So whenever you're speaking about yourself and you're saying, I am this, I am that, you are calling the name of God. And then whatever you put behind that, you're giving it a creative energy, a creative force. So you want to make sure that whenever you're saying I am, you're sure that it's something that you actually want to call into life. And this is something that I've also had to become very vigilant of, is the powerful use of our words. And as creative beings, part of the tools that we've been given in order to create the reality that we want to experience is one, our mind. Our mind is actually a tool to help us to create the reality we want to live through visualization and focus. And also, our words are here to complement that tool in order to design our lives. So, whenever you're saying I am, you can use that to call into life the energy that you want to create. But Aries is the I am in the zodiac. So remember, I am is also very deeply connected to identity. It's very deeply connected to who your soul understands itself to be in its most powerful and vigorous form. And you always want to make sure that when you speak about yourself, you're speaking about yourself in a manner that is reflective of who you are as the creative God force. The third idea also connects to Dr. Hew Len's perspective, which is your relationship to your inner child is incredibly important, because whether you realize it or not, your inner child is helping you make certain decisions. So this is the Cancer-Scorpio axis in astrology. One of the things I realized is Cancer represents, among other things, the inner child, as well as your personal reality, how you view the world. Across from that is the polarity Capricorn. And Capricorn is the outside reality. It's also the collective reality. So whether you realize it or not, your inner child, Cancer, has an effect on how you view the world, Capricorn. So when you receive opportunities, for example, to take big chances or take risks, your inner child is always going to be helping you make that decision. So if your inner child still feels afraid, still is concerned about rejection, abandonment, still is grappling with issues of feeling like he or she hasn't been heard or seen, then it's likely that when opportunities come, the inner child whispers, "Are you sure you want to do that? The last time we took a chance, this and this happened." Or when we were young, we were told we should be quiet, we should be seen and not heard. If you take this opportunity, you will be seen and heard. And maybe people won't like that. So whether you realize it or not, your inner child is having a large effect on whether you take opportunities into your hands and whether you self-sabotage. And Dr. Hew Len explains this as the inner child being the subconscious, and the mother, which in this case would be you or me, us reparenting our inner child, and that would be the conscious state. So your inner child's participation in your decision making is not conscious, is actually subconscious. So as you reparent your inner child, as you send love to yourself and say to yourself, "I'm so proud of you. Look at how far we've come. We no longer need to be afraid. We no longer need to worry about abandonment or rejection." As that child is reparented, the chances of you having the emotional security you need to make decisions that may feel like a risk or may put you in the situation of being visible and making more money and doing things that require more self-confidence, you're more likely to be able to make those decisions in peace. So your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your inner child is absolutely crucial because it forms the foundation for other relationships as well as other experiences and other decisions that are made. And why are decisions so important? Well, Scorpio is teaching us about true power. And what Scorpio teaches us is that true power is not having control over the circumstances. True power means that you can make a clear decision about how you react to those circumstances, which indirectly means that true power is actually decision making. Being clear in the choices you make, that is what gives you power. So if a scared inner child is making your decisions, then quintessentially, you're giving away your power to your past. And what you want to do is reparent that inner child and bring that inner child into the present where you're strong, you're the parent, and you're taking care of yourself, you're protecting yourself, you're speaking to yourself with love, so that the decisions you make come from a place of centered power. So before we go, I want to leave you with an opportunity for implementation of this wisdom. What you can do is get clear on your self-concept. Who are you? What is your I am? And also get clear on your current relationship with yourself and how you would like to improve that. So every morning and evening, I always read a very uplifting text to myself about who I understand myself to be. Because what I learned on my journey is that if I don't define who I am, others will take it upon themselves to try to define that for me. I recently had a situation where a woman said, I'll help you and I'll tell you when you need that help. And I said, I always decide when I need something. I will not give away my power and let her decide whether something's important for me or not. And so the way that I define myself and what I read to myself every morning is, I am an infinitely blessed and creative being. My existence is rooted in divine power, love, and wisdom. I am a child of the precious universe and therefore perfect, loved, and protected. I am that I am. So that's just the first part of a text that I read to myself every morning and every evening, not only to create the reality that I want to live, but also to remind myself of who it is that I am and who I want to be. So a reflection question that you can use for journaling is, do I spend time with myself? And how do I listen to and hear myself? Because it's in the listening, it's in the self-interviewing, and it's in the listening that you actually have the opportunity to learn more about who you are. So are you really taking that time to spend time with yourself? Are you taking the time to ask yourself questions? So I noticed you felt frustrated today. Why did you feel frustrated? What was it that bothered you about that? Tell me more about that. Instead of trying to push down the frustration or hide it or pretend like it wasn't there, have a conversation with the energy. Have a conversation with yourself. Listen to yourself. Hear what you are saying. Because we can't expect others to listen to us. We can't expect our spouse, our partner, our child to hear what we're saying if we're not willing to listen to ourselves. I'd like to leave you with this affirmation. I am that I am, and I am the creator of my reality. I am that I am, and I am the creator of my reality. I am that I am, and I am the creator of my reality. I hope this podcast episode helps to remind you of how precious you are and that you have every right to live every day in your sovereignty and in your majesty. And we need you, but we need you in a form where you give yourself permission to love yourself to the utmost. Because when you love you give us all permission to love ourselves as well. And not only that, but to love you. So, thank you for listening. And please let me know in the comments below if you agree, or what do you think is the most important relationship that you will ever have in this existence. And if there's any desire to work together, then please check the description, because I do offer one-to-one coaching programs, as well as the opportunity to look at your birth chart together to see how you can live your highest and truest expression of self in your life and in your business. I'm sending lots of love, lots of hugs, and I'm grateful that you are here, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.